In ancient Rome, there was a man named Marcus who worked for a senator. He wasn't powerful, and he wasn't famous, but he was trusted in a very specific way that mattered far more than status. Marcus handled private letters, delivered messages that were never meant for public eyes, and sat in rooms where decisions were made quietly, long before they ever reached the Senate floor. For years, he believed this meant something. He believed it meant loyalty. But in Rome, loyalty was never as solid as it felt. One winter, the political atmosphere in the city began to shift. A new faction was rising, and with it came pressure, opportunity, and danger all at once. The senator Marcus served began meeting with people he used to avoid. At first, Marcus didn't question it. That was not his place. His job was to serve, not to understand everything. Then one evening, he was called in without warning. There was no argument, no explanation, no anger. The senator simply told him that his duties would change starting the next day. Someone else would handle the private correspondence. Marcus would be reassigned to something more public and less sensitive. It sounded like a promotion in words, but in reality, it was removal. Over the following days, Marcus slowly realized what had actually happened. The conversations stopped. The private rooms he used to enter freely were now closed to him. Messages he once carried were now passed to someone else. He had not been betrayed in a dramatic moment. He had been replaced quietly, piece by piece, until there was nothing left of the role he once thought was stable. And what made it worse was that no one saw it as cruelty. In the Roman political world, this was normal. Alliances shifted, priorities changed, and people adjusted accordingly. Marcus was not unique. He was simply no longer useful in the same way he used to be. If we move east to ancient China during the same broad historical era, we see a similar pattern playing out under different names and systems. Advisors served regional governors who themselves served larger powers, and loyalty often depended on something far more fragile than belief. When a stronger warlord appeared, entire administrations could change direction overnight. In those moments, officials were forced to decide quickly whether they stayed with loyalty or followed survival. Many chose survival, and in doing so, they were not seen as traitors in their own eyes. They were seen as people responding to a world that did not stay still long enough for loyalty to remain simple. Now, if all of this feels distant, it shouldn't, because the structure behind it is still recognizable today. Think of a modern workplace. Two colleagues might work closely for years. They share ideas, support each other, build trust through repetition and time. But then something changes. A promotion opens up. A department shifts direction. A new manager arrives. Suddenly, without any direct conflict, the relationship begins to change shape. Conversations become shorter. Information becomes more selective. One person becomes slightly more distant, not out of hostility, but out of adjustment. The other notices it, but there is rarely a clear moment they can point to and say, "This is when it changed." Just does. The same pattern appears in friendships as well. People do not usually disappear from each other's lives through a single decision. Instead, life moves forward at different speeds. Work gets heavier, new environments form, attention gets divided, and slowly, the rhythm that once held two people together stops syncing. No fight happens. No betrayal is spoken. Yet from the inside, it still feels like loss. What Marcus experienced in Rome was not an ancient version of betrayal in the emotional sense. It was a version of something more structural. A shift in value, in relevance, in context. And that structure is still here, just wearing different clothes. Because whether in ancient Rome, ancient China, or a modern office building, relationships are not only shaped by loyalty or intention. They are shaped by systems that constantly change what people need from each other. And when what people need changes, relationships change with it. Sometimes loudly. Most of the time quietly. Marcus never saw himself as a victim of betrayal. That word didn't really exist in his moment the way we use it today. What he experienced instead was replacement without announcement, distance without explanation, and relevance slowly dissolving until there was nothing left to hold on to. And if there is something unsettling about that story, it is not because it belongs to the past. It is because it doesn't.